So, good morning, everyone, and welcome to this CFI Cybersecurity for Industry Day. I'm Fabrice Deloge, I'm a journalist. I'm going to be with you all day long. You may have noticed that we have a dense agenda. We're just about to start with Christophe Mathieu, who is Director for Digital for SNCF, who will be speaking on the keynote on the arrival of Ethernet in the Zero Trust Network, Trust for Everyone, with the geopolitical context. We'll have a presentation by Pradeo on the double challenge of mobile application and risks and challenges. And we'll have two roundtables, one on securing the supply chain and one on keeping the security conditions, with two representatives from Framatome. Without further ado, Jean-Christophe, I'm going to give you the floor on this theme of the arrival of Ethernet in the industry, in the Zero Trust Network, the trust for everyone, with the political context that we know. What will be your presentation? Well, good morning, Fabrice. Ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, I can see some colleagues, dear friends. The idea today is to talk about technology, confidentiality, integrity, not because these are topics that are very well known. And if we look ahead, sometime to look ahead, we need to look back, get inspired by the past to know what we'll be doing tomorrow to protect the challenges that are ahead of us. So the company I'm working for, my new home, which sometimes achieves a miracle. We could come back to the steam engine to look back, and what we're going to look ahead to, I've been in this industry for 30 years nearly as an integrator, and then in a well-known OEM, and then in the cyber world in SN, where I had an activity in systems, and today for the SNCF group in charge of digital. So it will be today an introduction to this CFI Day, Cybersecurity for Industry, and Vincent is still with us. Thank you for inviting me. With reference to 2019, we were preparing the 2020 FIC, and we decided to take the first 6-axis handling robots. So we'll need some forklift trucks. The model is 400 volts with the compressed air. So it's like we realized that it's not usual in the cyber world to receive some production tools. So this is how we started getting to know each other, and we've seen since then that the industry has taken a significant place in cyber. We are no longer on the basic topics of raising awareness and evangelizing. We are now moved to a different topic with concrete uses. Coming back to what I wanted to share with you, looking back to better understand where we're going tomorrow. So we are like somewhere in the late 90s, early 2000s. The electrical OEMs are using the marketing to talk about the network of tomorrow, the Ethernet. So there is 485, we talk about Phobos, Modbus. There were loads of them. And we were sold the dream of unifying the world of offices, of IT, and the OT. So the IT/OT was terms used in the academic world, and you were talking to industrialists, nobody knew what you were talking about. It was really the very early stages. And at that time, at the start of what I've called the start of the OT-IT conversions, we had some people, actually I was part of it, even though if I was promoting it, I was part of the people against it who said that it would never work. So yes, maybe it will never work, but 25 years later, tens of thousands of millions, 10 millions of stations have been rolled out, and this protocol has replaced most of the protocols that we find in industry, with a couple of processes are still on the old systems, but in spite of our reluctance, sometimes not really in good faith, but this has changed the habits, the operating mode in the world of industry. And you can look at it however you want. We are here to support the change and not suffer from it. So you've started to see the images are not usual. So my decision was to say that in 2025, not using artificial intelligence to create a presentation was probably has been. So let's go for something. All the images were made by generative AI, especially that of the SNCF group. At the same time, we saw the onset of the first virtual PLCs. We called that with irony the soft PLC. It actually didn't sell. It never actually picked up, but it was the current trend at the time. Why am I speaking about that? Well, because there was a lot of reluctance, but that trend didn't pick up. We saw it that Ethernet is everywhere. The virtual PLCs are going to make a virtual task. I mean, there were lots of blue screens at the time, the screen of death. So nobody really actually took the risk of going for those solutions. At the same time, NES, what we call the SCADA, so the supervision systems, at the time a computer was based on Windows, was logging into the process to display some information to the operators to check, control the systems. This, we're talking about the mid to late 90s. So SCADA is developing, a little bit less modern than what we had, so displaying several messages on one screen. At the same time, the OEMs were offering innovative solutions for remote access to plants. How many train and plane tickets were saved because due to a wrong operations by an operator. So that somehow it has changed the way that people were intervening on the systems. So you're going to kick off an installation in Japan, the other, and with a mistake, we can connect remotely to actually help the users locally. Still, when you implemented that at the time, the number of times you said, honestly, who is going to hack my plants? And all these interconnections that were implemented were actually raising questions for a lot of people. So each time we said we exchange with our customers and clients and partners, and how do you protect your installation? Well, the comment of who do you think is going to hack my installation? And I've heard it so many times, and honestly, mea culpa. I was the first for many years to say the same thing and say, no, nobody's going to take an interest in this. Like the people transport, I was nearly really not conscious. We were a bit naive, I think, that unfortunately, and we saw that in a world of Care Bears, because the people in the industry, they are in their DNAs, and the mission is to fulfill the mission, provide the service, and produce whatever it costs. So this concept of hacking, and this is why we're here to do by cybersecurity. So I think this is actually a true image. The Care Bears or the unicorns. Unfortunately, 2010, July 2010, on the 10th of July 2010, there was a hack, an attack that was created by who we know, and we said, actually, a lot of people are interested in what we do. I invite you, if you don't know about Stuxnet, to actually read the papers that were written by the INCYBER teams, where we find the cinematics and the scheme of a state attack on a country who wanted to have a nuclear weapon. So this has all created a real tsunami. It was really a wake-up call. In 2010, 2025, 15 years, things have changed, yes, they have. However, when you are in large companies, you can see these changes. And before, we used to say, oh, we've got to get organized, we have to make the right choices in terms of technology. Today, we are more talking about how do we roll this out and get the most of it. Still, when you talk to your partners in tier 1, 2, or 3, there are a lot of companies, smaller companies, that are not ready to take up the challenges that we are facing. So this wake-up call, I hope it's going to be a collective one, must be pushed by the big groups like us. It would have been insulting to come to Lille without looking at the past. I mean, Vauban's Citadel, as I said in my introduction, looking back to prepare for the future, Vauban, in spite of him, created what we've called the deep defense. And if we come back to the world of industry, the deep defense is not specific to industry. It's one of those IT models that we've copied, it existed, and adapted to the world of industry. And we have the proof that sometimes some existing models in traditional IT can be applied, adapted to the world of industry. So as you can see, the past can sometimes influence decisions of today and tomorrow, and this is what I will be wishing. You'll find lots of solutions, loads of partners, one better than the other. And the true question is, how can you best use this type of equipment on your plants, knowing that technology is just one pillar in the protection. So technology, of course, governance, and I will talk about it later, and above all, human beings. So the onset of these standards in the world of IT have provoked some quite comic scenes. I think that I've seen that hundreds of times, I think, in a number of plants here and abroad. And it's always been very delicate to ask the IT teams in charge of cybersecurity to come and support the industrial team to protect their systems. But it was also the other way around. The industrial team trying to explain to the IT people what was the issue. It was always a bit complex and wanted to revolutionize the way one or the other team works was not the right way to look at it. For many of you, this is behind you. But you should know, and I'm experiencing this today, when you work with certain partners, certain suppliers, I don't like the word supply because there is a trust element or not. I think Frédéric will talk about it, but it is a true topic. So we are here at the interconnection of these two worlds, this conversion of IT and OT. Christophe, I have a question for you. How can we better support this conversion between IT and OT? What are the best practices? Well, we could spend a lot of time on the best practices, and I will not insult you by telling you what to do, but its support is important. How can we make sure that these two universes, dressed like I'm in a workshop, it will not go down well. People will not listen to what we are saying. So this support of conversion, as I said, started 25, 30 years ago, maybe more, must go through the common understanding of the challenges of each party. Because providing technical solutions per se to say, oh, we've put a firewall or a probe is behind us. We are a more global approach today, ensuring that those who know, the human beings who actually make this a living system, are on board. This leads me to a question. What about the extended company? We know that our companies today are not limited to one site, but are everywhere on the planet, depending on the size of our groups. With one backbone, which happens to be somehow the Internet. So the Internet is now at the heart of our information systems, creating a strong dependency for operators. And I think that we've all known the unfortunate Friday afternoon failure, and everybody coming to try and understand what's happening. So we are somehow interconnected for maintenance, for example, in the industrial world, for the onset on the ERPs, for more traditional IT. And we can see it as well, the technology dependency is enormous. And at the scale of a group, this dependency has become critical, so that we should all work on. So, of course, the failure due to a caterpillar on Friday afternoon, it's usually for example, the third party maintaining to do some maintenance in operational conditions. And it's not very easy to detect what happened, especially in the wood industry, not to be up to date on all aspects. Sometimes we could do better than that. If we look today at the cloud, and the artificial intelligence is everywhere, you just need to leaf through or listen to the commercial arguments of people. So we are offered intelligent system controllers that are going to pilot your manufacturing line from the cloud based on artificial intelligence. I think it's right to ask whether it's relevant to have controllers that pilot the line on the internet with only an internet link to your production line. As we've seen, the soft virtual PLC have never actually come to life. I'm not sure that this will really pick up, and we'll talk about it in 10 years from now. One thing is sure, and we get to it, the ZTN, this backbone, for a long time, we know that there has been, in the digital world, some people who wish us good and others not. So the panda or the bear, we know that everything we do every day is spied on or even attacked. We used to be in a world where trust doesn't exist, and I think that the situation is getting more and more complicated, and sincerely, there's a third animal here. We knew from it, it was no secret. Now, today, it is applied today, as we can see it. We now need to create trust, and I think this is what we should work around it. So we're not in technology, as you can see. We are somehow between governance and human topics. Our former allies, who have never been our friends, are maybe becoming potential economic enemies. So it is together that we should work and go forward. I'm going to conclude around this. Trust. Let's talk about it. Now that we have massive deepfakes, a lot of companies actually are attacked with frauds through video conferences that are falsified by artificial intelligence. I think in Asia, $28 million, not so long ago. This amount of money was extorted via deepfakes. How can we trust something that may not be real on your screen? So this is a true topic that will require that in companies we train our team members, our employees, so that they use their knowledge, their capacity to judge, assess to what they are being asked is relevant or not. So a bad order can be refused. That's important. Likewise, there's going to be the dissemination of fake news. We've seen it with the Olympic Games. The information that is sometimes disseminated are not the right, is not the right information. A bad message sent to a production chain, to production operators, can lead to enormous catastrophes. This, as leaders, I've seen some known faces, something that we share. The raising the awareness of employees and the ecosystems. We will not succeed if we don't change the way we raise the awareness and train our people. So we shouldn't say it's a failure, but raising the awareness has not really worked. You do a mock phishing in our companies, you see how many people will fall for it, and provide ID and passwords, and then give a lot of work. I can see some teams from SNCF, they are going after data leaks. So this raising the awareness is really, we're now at a turning point. So we have to work on the professional and personal aspects. Coming back to my Care Bears, we are less naive now. We've made some progress. We still have a big step to climb. I'm not sure that only technical solutions were allowed to do that. There's one aspect we haven't talked about, and I think is very important for me, especially in 25 with this context, is the economic intelligence. We can see that corresponds coordinators, managers in charge of economic intelligence, and I think this is a true change. Earlier on, a bit ironically, you've seen in the digital jungle, you've seen 3 animals that are more or less nice. As the rooster, I think that's what we are designed referred to. We're not prepared to face these type of animals, but by working all together, by diving into the wealth of our companies, the human beings, we can improve the level of defense with the level of threat on us. And I think that the question we should ask is not so much about the technology, but it's also a matter of organization. The IT teams are often connected to a general secretary, to a IT at the COMEX. The cyber teams are in these entities sometimes, but production is still connected to a site, to a production manager. So sometimes we have some contradictory changes, like the bedroom of a teenager, so we can organize all this. I think it's meaningful. And the best example is the pizza. So you have something in something round in a square box cut into triangles. That's what we do in our companies. We try to make work some entities that are financially, hierarchically separated, and we ask them to work all together. And finally, we're talking about trust, and I think that any yoga master could wonder about this trust. And it has been said many times, trust doesn't exclude control. But if you control the people you work with, the entities that are partners with us, we should raise the level of trust. As you said, Jean-Christophe, trust is a complex exercise, as you mentioned, during the Olympic Games, the fact that working all together could produce satisfactory results. What is your opinion on that? Well, I'm going to conclude on that, and thank you for your question, but honestly, I think that 2024, I know it's a bit old now, it's a bit old news, but we all worked for several months. For me, it started 12 months before the first day of the Games. We had to work all together. The state, private companies, working all together. An incredible amount of work was done. And I was saying it with second degree, but the rooster could be insignificant. But we've shown the world that all together, when we work together, elbow to elbow, for the same purpose, we manage it, and we succeed. I wish you all 3 great days of conference. Thank you for your attention.
Merci beaucoup, Jean-Christophe.
Thank you very much.